Hey, what is up everyone? My name is Sukanto Roy and you're watching Coding with Roy. So welcome to the Python interview question series. This is the 15th video of the series, and if you have not been following this particular playlist, then what are you doing? This playlist is going to contain all the popular Python interview questions that you can expect in any Python developer job interview. So I'll leave the link of the playlist in the card and in the description. So if you have not been following this particular playlist, do check it out. And also, if you like this content, if you like this type of questions being answered, then please subscribe to the channel and become part of the Coding with Roy community, where we will grow as developers together. Timestamps, as always, will be in the description. So today's question is, what are Python iterators and iterables? And let me tell you guys one thing. I have given almost 10 to 12 Python interviews till now, and in each and every Python interview that I have attended, this question have been asked. And you will get drilled down in this question a lot, and from this particular concept there are a lot of other concepts that also generate, like Python generators. So in this video we are going to cover Python iterators, and in the next video we are going to talk about Python generators. So all the videos from now on are going to be very important, so please pay close attention and make notes as we go along. And first, let me tell you what are the topics that are going to be discussed today. The topics are, first, what is an iterable? So we are talking about iterators and iterable. What is a iterable item in Python? And after that we are going to see what is an iterator. So after that we are going to create our own custom iterator to understand what is going to go behind creating an iterator and how iterators work internally. After that we are going to see how for loop actually works, like when you are running a for loop, then how internally the for loop is going to get processed. And after that we are going to see what are the advantages of using iterator. So let's get started. So to understand what Python iterators are, we will first have to understand what is an iterable. So basically, by definition, an iterable is any Python object that is capable of returning its member one at a time, permitting it to be iterated over by a for loop. So this is a hefty definition. So what does it mean? At its core, what iterable items are that you can traverse through the items in a for loop. Like if you put that iterable item in a for loop, you will get one item at a time, and in that way you are going to traverse the whole item. So say for example, some familiar examples of iterables are list, tuples, strings, any such sequence that can be iterated over in a for loop. So see, list, tuple, strings, all of these have one thing in common. You can iterate over them in a for loop, and you can get, say in case of a string, you can get one character at a time. In case of a list, you can get one item at a time. And in this way you can traverse over the whole data structure. So this is called an iterable item. We will also encounter some other non-sequential collections as well, like dictionaries and sets. These are also iterable because you can iterate over them in a for loop as well. So there are multiple ways of working with iterables in Python. Some of the overlooked features of like iterables are unpacking and enumerating over a iterable. They can be very useful to create a well structured and clean code. Some of the ways in which we can work with iterables are as functions that take iterables and argument, like the sorted function or the list function. These take iterables as argument and then they return another iterable as well. Okay, so in that way you can work with iterables in Python. There is also something called unpacking that we can use to work with iterables, and then there is enumerating. Now this unpacking and enumerating are slightly big concepts, like you can create a whole lecture on unpacking or enumerating, but let me tell you very briefly what unpacking and enumerating are. Say for example, if we are unpacking an iterable, okay, so say for example we have a list, and now you know, if you are new to Python or you have some experience, you would probably see that we can do this. A, B, C, these are these three variables we are assigning simultaneously by passing a iterable over it. But how does that work? This iterable, if you see this as a list, then it is a object, right? But we are assigning one object to three variables. So behind what is happening is something called unpacking. So any iterable in this way, if you assign, it will automatically get unpacked, and all the variables that are in the left hand side are going to be assigned the values in a consecutive manner. Like A is going to be assigned 1, B is going to be assigned 2, C is going to be assigned 3. But if you have something, say the number of variables like in the right hand side are not matching exactly that on the left hand side, then it is not going to work. It is going to throw an error saying there are too many values to unpack, expected 3. But right now if you just give another variable, now it will again work. Then you can see it is going to unpack the iterable item and it is going to assign each of these variables a consecutive number. Okay, so this is what unpacking is. Now what enumeration is a fancy way of saying that we can access the indexes of these iterables as well. So that is a fancier way. In a fancy way we say enumerating. So basically what is happening is, say we have a variable x in which we are assigning this particular list, which consists of A, B, C and D, 4 characters. Okay, so right now what we are doing is we are creating a for loop, and this for loop is accessing two things. It is accessing the index in the form of idx, this is a variable, and it is accessing the I. This I is supposed to be the value. So this will be the I, and 0, which is the index of A, is going to be the index. Okay, so whenever you enumerate this, what internally is going to happen is that we are going to get two values, and those two values you can use using something called unpacking. So you have seen unpacking, so that is how we unpack two variables, and then we are using these two variables. So if you run this particular code example, what you're going to see is that we are getting two values. One is the index like 0, 1, 2, 3, and the other one is the actual value associated with that index. So these are unpacking and enumeration, and this is how we can use iterable items. So now let's see what is an iterator. So by the definition you will again get confused, because let me tell you, iterator in Python is an object that is used to iterate over iterable objects like list, tuples, etc. And the iterator object is initialized with the iter method, and it uses next method for iteration. So if you have no idea what a iterator is, this iterator, iterable, iterator, all of this terminology is going to confuse you. So if we have to simplify what a iterator is, it is nothing but an object that takes a iterable and returns one value at a time. That is all it does. It takes an iterable object and it returns one value at a time. So the next method in the iterator is used to only calculate the next value when it is required. When it is not required, the value will not get computed and the value will not get returned. That saves us some space, because we do not have to track the whole iterable object like the whole list into the main memory. We can just take whenever we need one value, and we will understand this in much more detail when we are going to see the code examples. So but this basically, that was what a iterator is. So basically iterator will have two things: iter method, which returns the iterator object itself, and then we will have the next method, and this is the most important one because it returns the next iterable object until it throws stop iteration exception. So now let's see a code example showing how iterators are going to work and what is an iterator. So say we are first taking a list X that contains 1, 2, 3 and 4, and we are printing, we are curious, we want to see what is the type of X. Obviously it is going to be list. Now what we said is that the iter object, see the iter method, dunder iter method returns the iterator object of any iterable item like list, tuple. So all of these iterable items are going to have something called a dunder iter method, and this dunder iter method is going to return a iterator object. Now let us see what is this iterator object. Let us take, and we can call the iter method in this way also, and also we can call it using this iter function as well, and it is a little better looking than this a double underscore iter method, right? So we are going to call in this way. So if we create this and see what is the type of this particular object, we are going to see it is a list iterator. Now what is this functionality of the iterator? The functionality of iterator is just that iterators will have next method inside them, which gives one element at a time. Okay, so now if we want to print the next element, we can pass this iterator to this next function, and in the similar way we can call using the dunder next method as well, and we can call using this next function as well. So let's run this. What are we going to see? We are going to see 1. Now that we have seen the 1, let's run this again. 2. Let's run this again. 3. And then 4. And now we are at the very end of this iterable object. Now what is going to happen when we run this next function again? It is throwing a stop iteration, and this stop iteration error is crucial when we are working with iterator objects, because it shows that we do not have any other element to throw. Okay, so whenever you are going to create your own iterator, you also have to specify when to throw this stop iteration, and we are going to see that when we are going to create our own custom iterator. But right now this is how iterator works. We repeatedly call this next method and receive one element at a time, and these elements are going to be calculated only when you call this next method. It is not going to be sitting on the main memory and consuming memory. It is only going to be computed when you are going to call the next method. So a few quick pointers that I would want to tell you is that first, iterators can only go in the forward direction. So you see that we are when we are calling the next method, we have 1, then 2, then 3, then 4. When we are at 3, there is no way to go back to 2, and when we are at 2, there is no way to go back to 1. There is only one way in which iterators can traverse, and that is through the forward direction. Okay, and if you want to go to the back and start again, you have to create another iterator. You have to create another iterator object. The same iterator object is not going to go in the reverse direction. And the second thing is, iterators will also have iter method that simply return itself. So let me show you this. We can get to see any function, take any function or class and use the dir method, dir, and you will see all the functions available in that. So see, as x is a list, we will have append, clear, copy, all of these functions, and we will also have dunder add, dunder class. So in this way you can see this dunder iter method is going to give us the iterator. But if we dig deep inside the iterator object as well, we are going to see it is also going to contain this iter object, the iter function that is going to return itself, and it is going to contain the dunder next method. And one more thing is, iterators remember the last state it was in. So when you are calling this next function, the iterator is going to remember, so once it is at 2, it is going to remember that I was at the second place. And then when you are going to call the next function again, it is going to give you 3 and remember that it was at the third place. Okay, so in this way. So now that we have seen what iterators are and how they are going to be used in using the next method, let's create our own iterator object so that we can get a better feel of how everything is working. So now, to create our own custom iterators, let's take the standard example of the range function. So if you do not know what range function is, so when we create, say for example, this kind of range function takes one minimum number and one maximum number and also a step size, and what it gives is a range object, and that range object can be used to get an iterator, and that iterator, the range object can be used to get an iterator, and that iterator can be used to obtain the iterables. And the iterable, what is going to be is, what it is going to give us a list of object that will have a step size of what we have mentioned. It is going to be 2 in this case, and it is going to be between the minimum and the maximum value. So if I just tell you how range work is, say if we take this same example and we use it as a list to get the list, we will see that this is what is going to be returned. Okay, so we are going to create this range function and it will be a class called myRange. Say we are creating a myRange function, or say for example let's call it range x because it sounds cooler. And this class is going to do the same thing. It is going to return us an iterator when we want it, and that iterator we can use to create this kind of behavior. So let's first start by initializing, and when we are going to initialize, we are going to want to get a low and high and also the step size, right? Now let us quickly assign all of these variables to the internal variables. So now that we have done that, we also need a pointer to, and it is not the C++ pointer, as in we want to like track when we are in between the low and high, at which place we are. So for that we need, say, a current variable, and it is going to be initialized as low, because we are going to always start from low, and we do not include the high, we get just before the high. Okay, we go just before the high. So 10 is not included, it will always go just before 10. So now what is going to define the iterator is the iter function, the dunder iter function, and the next function. So this is going to give us our desired iterator, and this we are going to populate. So let's start. So what the iter function is going to do is it is going to return itself. For in case of iterators, it is very like evident that we are creating an iterator, and the dunder iter method is going to give us the iterator itself. But in case of iterables, like if we call the iter method for a list which is not a iterator, it is going to give us the list iterator, which is also a class in Python that does similar things. So the main point of the iterator is comes down to this dunder next method. So this is what differentiates the iterator from the iterable. So how we are going to tackle this? As always, let's first see when we are going to stop. So when the current is greater than equals to the high, it is going to stop. Okay, so raise stop iteration. So it is going to throw stop iteration whenever the self.current is greater than or equals to. I am taking the equal to as well. So it is going to raise the stop iteration error when it is the current is going to be greater than or equals to the high. And it is very important to raise the error. Otherwise we are always going to run, it is going to run infinitely. So now we want a temporary variable to keep track of the self.current, and now we are going to increment the current by the step. Now we have incremented the current, and the temporary variable that we have saved we are going to just return. So this is our iterator, it is done. So let's see if we can use it to get this as well. Okay, so let's take range x object, range x, and we are going to use the same step size and everything, and we are going to get, so let's see what we are getting. So it is a range x object. So let's see the type. So yeah, it is a range x object, just like in case of the actual range function. And now let's call the next method and see what is happening. Say next, and then we are passing this object, and when we are passing this, we first got 1. Okay, that's great. Now let's see 3, 5, 7, 9, and then we are going to get stop iteration, just like in the case of range object. And let us show again, like let's pass this object inside the list so we can get the actual list. So let's create another 20 and let's give the step size as 3. So in this way we have created our own iterator, and this particular notebook is going to be available in my GitHub, so I'll give the link in the description as well, so check that out as well. So now that we have understood how iterators are working and we have also created our own iterator, let's see how for loops work. So basically, when you say for example, in case of, let's create an object of our own iterator, and let's give 1 as well in the step size. And when we are going to say something like for I in object, and we are going to print I. So how is this working in case of our own iterator object? How is this working? So what for loop internally does is it takes the iterator and repeatedly calls the next method. So if we want to mimic this particular behavior, what we can do is it is going to create a infinite loop, and once it creates the infinite loop, it is going to, in the try block, it is going to say there is a temporary variable, and that temporary variable is going to always get the next of this. So let's create again, because that object is that iterator object we cannot use again because it hit the stop iteration mark. So this temporary variable is going to get the next object. In our case, it will first take 1 and then 2 in this way, and then it is going to print the number, okay, or return the number, whatever you say. It is going to print that, and whenever it is going to find except stop iteration, and whenever it is going to find iteration, it will break. So now we have effectively created our own for loop. So this is how we internally it is working. So it checks and it calls the next function again and again, and when it expects a stop iteration function, it breaks. Now what happens when you do not specify when to stop the iteration? In that case, as you can see in this loop, it will run infinitely and we will get in the infinite loop situation. So that is why in case of creating our own iterators, it is always necessary to specify the stop iteration rule, then when to stop iterating. Okay. So now that we have understood how for loops works and we have also created our own custom iterator, let's see what are the advantages of using an iterator. So the main advantage of using an iterator is this. In case of larger data sets, iterators save us both time and space compared to any data structure like list. So imagine if we have a list of 1 million datas. In case of 1 million data, if you want to store the 1 million data list inside your main memory, it can overflow. So for example, in case of scenarios where big data is a thing, say you have a list that contains 4 GB of data and you have a RAM of 2 GB. So where are you going to store the rest of the 2 GBs? Because if you want to store the whole list as a whole in your own main memory, it is going to run out of the memory because your data is of 4 GB and you have a RAM of 2 GB. So in that case, what iterator will do is it is not going to give you the 4 GB of data at whole. It is going to give you whenever you need the next element. So in that way, in any specific time, you will always have only one value to work with. You can go and call the next function a million times and it will give you the million numbers, but it is always going to give you one number at a time. So that is the biggest advantage of using iterators, and that is why we should always use iterators whenever possible. And now that we have understood what iterators are, the next video is going to understand what Python generators are. So if you like this video, then please like the video, comment on the video saying that you found it useful. If you have any particular doubts and all, please write that below, and I will also leave the link of this particular notebook in the description, and I will also host this in my GitHub profile, so you can check that whenever you want. And if you like this type of content and you want more of the content that will make you a better developer, then please subscribe to the channel and become a member of the Coding with Roy community. With that, thank you and bye.